Hey, how's it going everyone? Lazy Clips here. To preface this review, I just want to say that the reason I put the amount of hours I played in the title is to let you know that I put a lot of time into this game. It took me about 30 to 40 hours to complete the story and all side content, and the rest of that has been spent in the quote-unquote endgame. I just want to clarify. So Anthem is an interesting game. It's set in a world full of wonder and possibility, where things are run by the anthem of creation. Anthem is full of complex characters with their own story, but the most fleshed out thing in this game is the combat, which has a system of primers and combos that make you feel powerful and able to overcome things more easily as you get the system down. As time goes on in the game, you feel yourself becoming more powerful as you work your way up to level 30 and beyond. The issue comes later in the game once you hit the end game. You'll touch on that more later on. The sad truth about Anthem is that it consists of many bugs and general stability issues, which take away from the game greatly. It not only is a disservice to those who love the game, but to people outside of the community who want to get an impression on the game. With the stability issues alone, this game is not one that anyone should recommend, even with the constant support of the developers. Unless things change, this game is one that people should be holding off on. I'm not going to get into any controversy surrounding this game and its release whatsoever. I am just going to give my perspective on the game itself and the time I've spent with it. For those who have played BioWare games before, you have a certain expectation of the narrative that you hope for. In past games, the strongest thing was the narrative and the world building. The strongest thing in Anthem, however, is the combat. There's a lot to this game. The only thing that Anthem seems to be fully committed to is the combat. Everything else, sadly, is not up to that same level. There's a saying that if you try to be good at everything, you'll be good at nothing, as everything will be of the same quality. Thankfully, the combat is the best thing, which means there is room to improve elsewhere. The characters and the story are something that I enjoyed. The fact is that it is not very compelling. I enjoyed the conversation with the characters in the fort more than I enjoyed playing throughout the story. Anthem missions feel very samey. The combat makes it not so much of a slog, but the fact is that it does not necessarily change the fact that there is a huge lack of general variety. Every character is certainly different though, and they are at the very least entertaining and compelling in their own way. It just does not feel as fleshed out as it should have been, or could have been though. An example of this is that in the beginning of the game, you choose a face for your character. Throughout the entire game, there is maybe one or two places where you see that face again, and this is in the entire 30-hour campaign. It takes away that feeling of individuality and that my story that they had originally advertised. Speaking of individuality, there is not too much to the customization in this game. Even in the store rotations, there are not many armors to change the look of your javelin. The most that you can really do is change up the colors and change up the vinyls, but beyond that, it is most certainly lacking. One of the best things about the game is free play. The world is gorgeous, and there's a lot to discover, explore, and do around the map. Much of my time was spent free play, and I would not take it back. Even in just the week since release, the world is changing, with new events popping up and enemies that could not be found in free play roaming around too. It is quite interesting and gives me a reason to keep going back. Now let's talk about the end game. Once you reach level 30 and it being the story and the side missions, what you are left with are strongholds, free play, legendary contracts, and some challenges to work toward. The general progression is becoming an epic javelin by getting all purple gear, moving up to masterwork javelin by getting orange gear, and then trying to get legendary gear to progress even further, which is the green gear. The different green gear. Getting further just consists of luck and playing the game. However, going above Grandmaster 1 difficulty does not seem worth it at all, as the difference between Grandmaster 1 and Grandmaster 2 is a lot, and it can take more than a full clip to kill even the smallest of enemies, with the reward being more or less the same. The endgame of Anthem is not fleshed out, and is hardly something to be considered existent. That is a real shame. As time goes on, I have found less reason to continue playing. A lot of people you meet in this game, however, have beaten the story in as little as 10 hours due to wanting to reach the end fast. So you'll meet these players that took the shorter and faster route, sometimes by certain means, do not actually like playing the game and progressing normally. I met people that got so far as Masterwork Javelin and did not know about the combat system at all, and how primers and detonators worked. Within the game's codex, it has a tutorial section and it explains how they work, and generally through playing you understand. But some people rush through and use bugs and glitches to progress further, and they have a certain lack of understanding and appreciation for the game and its systems. So the endgame ends up with you being a Masterwork Javelin in Grandmaster 1 with people who have just hit level 30 who do not have a proper equipment or understanding of how big of a difference that jump is. There are no barriers for Grandmaster other than them telling you the recommended Javelin item level. People do not listen, and it takes away from the experience of those who do. Another issue you end up running into are inscriptions, which are the passives on gear. Sometimes you'll get a legendary or a masterwork, and the passives are complete garbage, and the inscriptions are garbage. So a lot of times the epic gear or the masterwork gear will be far better than the legendary gear, etc, etc. So I've spent all these hours grinding and trying to get these masterworks or legendaries just to have something that's complete garbage. So hopefully they end up changing that as well, because it makes all the time that you put in and all the grinding that you've done feel completely useless, just like the items that they give you. But let's talk about bugs now. Excluding the scar, this game is full of them, from disconnects to exploits to general stability issues. I've been disconnected numerous times, spawned without being able to use weapons, and also spawned into bugged missions which cannot progress. There are instances where you cannot progress further into strongholds as well, because people were using exploits and it ruins it for people who end up joining long after that group is gone. I have a very strong stance against using exploits in games, so I will not rant about that further. With all of that being said, I cannot recommend Anthem. I love Anthem and play it every day. The fact is, it feels very bare bones. It does not commit fully or enough to anything besides the combat. And as compelling as the characters can be and the gear grind is, I cannot recommend it. It is riddled with bugs and other issues since the first day I played it to today, and it has a lot of work that needs to be done. To sum this up, some of the positives for Anthem are at least 30 hours of content with the story and side missions. The combat is excellent and one of the best things about it. Free play is wonderful, and there's a lot of exploring to do and a lot of things to do within free play. You can spend a lot of time in it. Progression from level 1 to 30 is a blast and is one of the best things about this game. And the characters are great and funny, and some of the stories they tell are very compelling and interesting. Some of the negatives for Anthem are the rampant bugs, not the scar, the lack of a real endgame, the lack of good inscriptions, most are useless, so you're really rolling the die here, the lack of customization in the forms of armor. There's really not a lot to choose from, or a lot to even get. The lack of commitment to many in-game systems is another one, whereas the combat is the most fleshed out thing about it. This game also needs some quality of life improvements, such as in-game text, or barriers from higher Grandmaster difficulties, and better Grandmaster rewards. As I said before, I do love Anthem. I just know that it is not in a place that is worth a purchase. If you ever do find yourself buying it, do yourself a favor and do not rush. Play the story and the side content and enjoy the ride. It is one of the best parts. If you rush to the end, you rush through almost every good thing this game has to offer. Going forward, I will make reviews on further and substantial updates this game has. Once the issues are fixed and there's more to do, I will re-review this game. As of right now, I recommend it if you could pick it up for $30. That is basically $1 an hour. Also, I just want to say that I really hope that EA does not axe this game like they did Andromeda, as that's the worry for a lot of players right now. So hopefully they stick with it and improve it, because the potential is there. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck out there. I will see you all next time.